I'm pretty sure their ringer is off, but
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Metaphysical Insights. I'm your host, William Becker, and this is my incredible guest, Nicole Strickland. And I am very pleased and honored to have her on today. We were just talking. I have to have her on the show because that's the only time I get a chance to talk to her. And Nicole is not only just a really good human being, but she's got a wealth of knowledge on many different subjects dealing with metaphysics and the paranormal, as well as other areas of life and philosophy and history and you name it. And knows a thing or two kind of about the Queen Mary. Yeah,
maybe.
there's a reason why I call her the Queen of the Queen Mary. Um,
Mm.
and so we'll talk about some of that too and the newest book. But welcome, Nicole.
Thank you, William. It's so nice to see you again. I second that. It's, I live in San Diego, you're up in the Pacific Northwest, and it's nice to catch up and have a
Yeah,
discussion. And I think very highly of you. You're an amazing individual. So, it's always an honor to come on your show. So good
well,
to see
thank you
you
so
and
much.
everyone who's watching too.
Yeah, and we do have some people out there, it looks like, watching so far. Um, you know how it goes. The biggest numbers usually come after the fact. And the,
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I always catch the archives for me. That's I'm a big archive person. Oh, I missed that. I gotta watch the episode. So I
yeah,
get it.
and let's just kind of jump. Well, no, and you know me, and my listeners know I have ADHD brain, and it jumps around, and I might put together an outline of an idea of flow, and then I totally ignore it, so I don't even bother anymore.
You know
Um,
what? I think many people have ADHD. I really do. I think, and there may be situational ADHDs too. Don't have to be classically diagnosed to sometimes, I think, have it. I know sometimes I have it too, but you go with the flow of the show. That's what I do. Sometimes I'll have outlines and then it's, we get on other topics and we're there and we didn't even cover some of the other, topics. And that's great. Great. It's just, room
you
for
got
another
another.
show. So exactly.
The next show is all ready to go.
There you go. So
Yeah, but you had
hi, Michael.
um when we were texting or messaging a little bit earlier today, you had a recent experience,
Yes.
and I think that might be a good place to start.
I think that's a fabulous place to start. And it has to do with synchronicity. And I think this example that I'm going to share today, I think is synchronicity at its finest. And obviously, it happens when we least expect it sometimes. But just for those that aren't aware, I adopted two beautiful kittens in 2003 after our San Diego wildfires, Max and Kaylee. And the three of us have just, I think we're all part of the same soul group. Very, very, very close. I've talked about them on shows. I've even written a short little book about some of the spiritual experiences I've had with both of them. Max transitioned in 2013, and then Kaylee transitioned in 2021. Beautiful, beautiful experiences with both of them. Especially Kaylee has come to me in dream visitations. So just a little bit of background. The three of us are very, very close. I've had cats all my life, but there's something about these two. And again, I think it's maybe that we're part of the same soul group. So they're with me all the time. And I think
Mhm.
they're doing very good things where they are now. And so yesterday I was at PetSmart with my mom, just getting some cat food for our other cat, my other cat, Aries, who's 23 years old. And so there was a little sign there next on one of the aisles saying, "Oh, there's a kitten adoption fair going on tomorrow," which is today. And so, I'm letting Kaylee and Max are the two cats I just referenced. I'm letting them guide me as to when it's time for me to adopt a new cat or even a pair of litter mates. I'm letting them guide me. But I thought, it's near my house. Let me go check this out. So about what time is it? About 3 hours ago, I decided to drive down to PetSmart. I parked my car. As I got out of my car, I was walking toward the store. On the left-hand side of me, there was a SUV that had a sticker of a cat, which is kind of interesting. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Then, as I was walking a few cars down to my right, I just happened to glance at a car and I happened to notice a license plate. And again, my cat's name's Max and Kaylee. And of course, my name is Nicole. And so I saw this license plate, and the last three letters were NIC. Obviously, my name is Nicole NIC. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And the other letters were MNKYNIC. So MNKYNIC. And it didn't take my brain time to process this. This was like a universal epiphany type of message that you get when you have synchronicity.
Right.
And I immediately understood that as MNKYNIC, Max and Kaylee Nicole. That's how I took that license plate. And it's hard to put this into words. I didn't have to think about it. It was like a universal, like, oh my gosh, this is some sort of message. I walked into the store and they had some of the same cats that they did yesterday. I thought maybe they were going to bring in more, but I also understood the message as, you know what, they were telling me, number one, just another universal reminder that they're always with me. The three of us are always together. But also they were telling me, it's not today, Nicole, not time. It's not time. We'll let you know another day when it's time for you to perhaps adopt, another kitten or litter mates. I would like. But to see that license plate with those letters, MNKYNIC, it's unreal. And I shared it with my mom, and she was like, Nicole, that's unreal. That's
Yeah.
absolutely unreal. And someone can say, oh, well, you just kind of put words into it yourself. You're overthinking it. That's fine if those that are listening think that, but you'll know when you have an experience like that. It was just, I can't even put it into words. It was just such a message. It was unbelievable. So synchronicity, it's a beautiful thing. And I just felt, that is an example of synchronicity at its finest. So I wanted to share that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. That's wonderful.
I'd show a
I
picture of it right now, but I forgot to edit out the actual, I can do it really quick here. I don't want to show the actual car just because it's someone's car, but I can
Right.
really get it to where no, you probably can't see it
No,
too well.
oh,
Yeah, it's
just a little
backwards.
bit, but not
Yeah,
well.
just a little bit, but that's it. Yeah, crazy. Beautiful, really. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Those are heart feel good stories.
yeah. Yeah, and you'll know it when you have it because you cannot deny the feelings that you get with it. It's just undeniable when that happens. So,
Exactly. I get that when I stumble into a past life,
yes. Yes.
which I've had happen a few times on my travels. And
Absolutely. And you have that same how does that feel for you? It's hard to put into words what it is, but you just know it's right. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and you come up and it's just like boom, and
Right.
it's out of the blue. It's not something expected.
Exactly.
It's not like I'm there looking for something.
Mhm.
Um, so there's no reason for my imagination or my own delusion wanting something to
Exactly.
kick in.
Yes, exactly, and that's how it was today. So,
Yeah,
awesome. It made my
yeah.
day.
I
So
love it.
and being on your show too, it makes my day, so,
Oh, well,
yeah.
thank you. Well, I look forward to being introduced to the next members of your family when you do adopt them.
When the time comes.
Yeah.
When the time comes. Kaylee, just really quickly, Kaylee in a dream. Now, it was me in the dream understanding this, not when I woke up. This was about a year ago. During this dream, me in the dream, she showed me another kitten, but in the dream, she was telling me, "This is how I will look. This is how I will look someday." And she looked really similar to how she was, just a little bit more gray, a little bit more silver.
Hmm.
So, again, I'm letting them guide me, and it's one of those things I can't plan it. It could be tomorrow, it could be next year, but I'll know when it's the right time. So,
Yeah. Well, you need to come up here and maybe find a kitten up here to take back with you.
Maybe maybe that's a message coming through. I gotta keep that in the back of my head.
That's right.
That's true. Oh my gosh. Wow, I got goosebumps there.
Well, you've got a lot of people up here that would love to see you.
I miss you all, and I am not making it to the Oregon Ghost Conference this year, sadly, but are you going?
I am.
Oh, good
Yeah,
for you. Good for you. Tell everyone hi for me. I miss all of you so much. It's been prior to COVID since I've been up there.
that's right.
So, yeah, you
And
all
so
have a
often
great
when you're
time.
here, I hardly get a chance to say hello. I
Isn't
mean, you're
that
so busy.
crazy? I know, and so
Yeah,
are you. It's the same
yeah,
thing. I know. I need to come up to where I can maybe spend like 3 or 4 days, and because usually it's like I get there Friday and then I have to leave Sunday, and I mean, it's just not enough time to
no,
really see
mm-mm,
everyone. So,
no. I have a haunted guest room.
there
You're
you go.
welcome.
Oh, you're so sweet.
The
I'll take
ghosts are
it.
always nice, you know, and
Yeah.
you can ask Vivian Powell about the ghosts,
Oh, I
um,
love it. Awesome. Thank
amongst other
you.
people. But
Yeah,
mhm.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And um, okay, now let's go back to your new book.
Sure. So just basically summarize it a little bit. So here's the cover. Now this is the proof. So you're going to see the not for sale thing from Amazon, but here's the cover. So just a little story about how this started. So Marie D. Jones is a paranormal investigator and a best-selling author here from San Diego, California. She's in San Marcos area, so she's more North County than me. I'm in Tirisana, so I'm like right central San Diego. She approached me about 2 years ago. She approached me after we did a show together and she said, Nicole, I have an idea for this book about doing a book about women in the paranormal. She said, would you want to be involved? And I said, absolutely. And so she writes with Denise Agnew, who is a medium, an evidential medium and investigator from Arizona, near Tucson, Arizona. And so they write screenplays and other books together. So she brought on Denise as well. So it's the three of us: Marie D.
Okay.
Jones, Denise A. Agnew, and myself. And so basically, it's an anthology. The book, it's Women on the Fringe, Groundbreaking Women in the Paranormal, and it features different stories and experiences and viewpoints from women in various areas of the paranormal. So, ghosts and hauntings, mediums, authors, cryptozoology, ufology, you name it, archaeology, even. We even have someone in the book who does spirit art. So, she channels spiritual energies and then she draws them, and it's there's some pictures in the book to demonstrate that, and just it's an uncanny thing because there's such a similarity to how they looked in life. And so it's an anthology featuring women from all over the place, really. And so Pacific Northwest, we have Linda Myers in there, we have Mary Bethune, and we have Jill Straub from the
People that
Pacific
I
Northwest in there.
know and
So
think highly
yeah,
of.
gosh, there's like 32 women, I think, in the book. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone else from the Pacific Northwest. Oh, if I am, I don't think so. But yeah, all amazing people in the field. And then, so it starts out basically with my story, and then Denise's story, and Marie's story. And then we have a few articles in there that discuss, women's intuition, how women are in the field, a little bit on women and spiritualism in there, and then it gets right into the stories. So, and we even have a remembrance section at the back. So for women like Rosemary Ellen Guiley, Lorraine Warren, even though there's some controversy there, we have honor her as well, and Stryber, I believe, and a couple of others. So it took about 2 years to really get the book finished, but it's debuting next week. So we'll be
Fantastic.
doing some advertising and promos about that. So we're really excited.
Well,
It
make
was
sure
fun
you
to work
send
on.
me the links for or the pictures, whatever, for the promos so that I can
Sh-
share it out on my social media.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Again, right here. Here's the title. Just ignore that not for sale. It's a proof, actually. And then here's the back to kind of here. So
Yeah.
yeah, we had a great time, and it's, all the ladies were so wonderful, and just reviewing and reading their stories and accounts and doing all the editing, it just really goes to show that women really are amazing facets in this field. So
You are. And I think I can understand why women maybe didn't get as much notice and I'm thinking probably weren't as much in the field in the early days because roles for men and women were more differentiated then. And
absolutely.
if when we look back in history, sometimes there was a reason for some of that. You needed somebody that could carry a deer home, and you needed somebody that could um, make the clothes and hoe the garden and keep the kids from getting killed. And I mean, there w- you just needed both people, and the roles were, in my opinion, equally important, although
Oh,
legally
yes.
they weren't. But
Absolutely.
we don't have to have that as much. Well, we don't have to have it at all anymore,
Right.
and there's no reason for it. And um, let me see if I can put this out here without getting myself into trouble, because I don't
You'll
mean it
do fine, don't
in a
worry.
bad way. It's just sometimes it's so hard, and people get so defensive, and I don't mean it that way.
I think social media has caused that, I really do, or one of the reasons why people are just so ultra sensitive, can't even take constructive criticism anymore, it's just really sad.
Oh, I know it. Or learn from history instead of hiding it. Or
Right.
anyway, um, but everything I have read from anthropologists, scientists, whatever, there are some differences on average. Again, this is a generalization of the brains of men and women and how they
Mhm.
approach things. Now, some of that may be learned and traditional. Some of
Right.
that may be brain function. I don't know. There are a lot of questions, but we need both. We need both. I mean,
Oh,
you've
absolutely.
got to have the different perspective. And women who are allowed to be in charge and not have to act like a man are outstanding in leadership, usually. I mean, not everybody. There are men that aren't, and there are women that aren't.
Right.
Um, and, and frankly, I think men that don't have to be pushed into the macho testosterone role, I think, do a lot better job in leadership as well. It's
Oh, I agree.
the roles for both genders are just as toxic.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and you see it all over the place. And so it's nice for me to see more equality
Mhm.
and recognition in the field. And
Absolutely.
um, I don't think there is. I'm not as aware of as many women that have been accused, rightfully so, of fakes and frauds than there have been men.
Yeah, that's
It's
actually yeah, I didn't even think of that, actually, that's a good point to make.
unless you go back to the old days of Victorian spiritualism or something,
Oh,
and
yes.
that's
Right,
different.
yeah.
That's a whole
And there's an
different thing.
article yeah, there's actually I think I actually wrote that article in there. There's a book on women in the history of spiritualism, and, some of what we see today mirrors that, but, that era, spiritualism did give women a voice. It did give women a platform to be able to present their viewpoints and engage a lot of their natural gifts, but yet at the same time there was a lot of fraud and deception. And so, as we know, that paved the way for a nice, and a lot of people cringe at this word, but more of a science based. framework whereby to study the paranormal, as we know, the Society for Psychical Research. So we talk about spiritualism in there and the effects of it on today's research. But there's also some discussion in there on some of the reasons why women may believe more in the paranormal than men, how
Mhm.
intuition, the natural mothering instincts, even how hormones may play into it. So, but whether you're a male or a female, and I don't want to get too much on gender here because I know that's a very sensitive topic now today. But whether you're male or female, you can. For me, if you have a passion to study this field and you're in it for heartfelt reasons,
Mhm.
either is going to succeed, right? We were just kind
Right.
of talking about that beforehand, how ego and people in it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
So, but it's these women in the book, and there are so many others that we could have asked, and that's what's sad. And if the book does somewhat well, we are considering maybe doing a second volume. But there are so many other women that we could have asked to be in it. But what's meant to be is meant to be. So these batch of ladies in here, phenomenal, and they all have such differing backgrounds and
I like that.
experiences and viewpoints, and that's what makes it interesting because I think in this field, no man's an island.
Right.
We get that with any field, but in this field, no man's an island, and I think that we can really learn from each other.
I
And
think,
yeah, so
yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was
no,
just
go for
agreeing
it.
with you.
I was
No, I
going
was
on
just
and on
agreeing with you.
there.
No, it was great. I just was trying to agree. Actually, that's one of the things I like about teaching too, is I learn something in classes that I'm teaching.
Yes, isn't that right? Like from your
Yeah.
clients and your students, absolutely.
Mhm.
Right.
And just the way the class ebbs and flows. And I find, speaking of synchronicity, usually, almost always, the makeup of the class is exactly what it needs to be for that group
Yes.
of people.
I absolutely agree with that, and it's
Mhm.
interesting how that plays out.
Yeah.
It really is.
And especially at a conference where
Mhm.
I'm not in control of any of it. I put together the class and other people deal with tickets, marketing.
Right.
They give me money at the end of the day. And,
Are
you know,
you what are you doing? What classes are you teaching at the Oregon Ghost Conference?
I'm teaching one, it's a 2-hour class,
Good for
and
you.
I think it's sold out. I mean, a
Oh,
week ago I was
fantastic.
thank you. I know a week ago I was told that, but check folks if you're interested. Maybe something's opened or maybe I was told wrong, but so feel free to check. But you know me in history. For
Yes.
those who don't, I have a bachelor's degree in history. History's my
Amazing.
passion.
Yes.
And um and when I travel it's for ancient history more than most anything else.
I love
And
that.
see friends.
I love it
Um
too.
but opening up to seeing that history from a psychic and mediumship level is part of what helps make life fuller, I think, and more well rounded. And then we can also use that to open up and see the non human around us. I didn't
Yes.
say demons, I don't think they exist. Um,
That's we have to talk about that because I don't either, and I have my reasons for that.
mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're one
And
of I think we're the minority on that, or maybe we're not the minority and just some people are afraid to talk about it, but I absolutely agree with you. But anyways, go ahead. Sorry, I
yeah,
was
no,
doing this.
thank you. No, I love it. And but there are other beings, and
Yeah.
again, those that know me know that I have to have had a physical sighting or a physical experience to believe something is real, pretty
Mhm.
much, and not my imagination or somebody
Right.
else's misinterpretation or whatever. No matter how much I trust the person's integrity, that doesn't mean that they misunderstand something or whatever.
Right.
So, I have seen the Fae with my own 2 eyes,
Oh my
including in
gosh.
the middle of the day, and so, okay, they're there, and I'd started thinking about them a long time ago with under the idea of, well, if quantum mechanics and parallel universes and stuff really exist, then these are probably beings that are popping in and out, and
Absolutely. I
that's
agree.
exactly the information I have been given by them and by the one I saw Bigfoot, and it said the same thing, and the Fae have talked about it. Yes, that's how it works, and, um, okay, maybe people with white nets are coming after me, but, um, I feel pretty confident about this, and, um, the techniques with watching, I mean, you work with all of these and blend them together, and so you're seeing, um, the history, and you're also seeing, well, like, for example, the Pukwudgies or Pudwukkies that are Native Americans talk about. I've sensed them, but I've seen the shadows of them as
Right.
shadowy figures. But I've also seen them with this eye many times.
Mhm.
And a good friend of mine, actually, we have a book out. He's a photographer. Um,
Oh, great.
the first book we did, or I did, he did the photographs for it.
Sorry about
And
that.
um, he and a friend of his spent a year going into an old mill that had just closed down.
Oh,
The
wow.
oldest the oldest continually working industrial site in the state. And they were at a side door of this building one at night, midnight, basically along the train tracks, wondering if they should go in.
Mhm.
And this door was up kind of like a metal staircase thing. It was more of a fire exit than an entrance.
Mhm.
And the door, a heavy metal door, opened.
By itself.
Yeah, for them.
We're talking about like a prison type heavy metal door. Just open
Right.
like that. Wow.
And it wasn't windy.
Right, right. Oh my gosh.
And so my friend was thinking about it, and the other one just jumped up the stairs and went in. So they both did, and they spent a year going through this building, photographing it, and they couldn't use flashlights or anything because there was security.
Mhm.
And now this is built over falls. It has open places in the floors. There are different levels. They covered pretty much everything. And they felt for sure that they were being led and guided through this because the beings there wanted it, the story of it told. And
Wow.
they kept these 2 guys safe because they could have fallen into something and never been heard of again and nobody knew what happened.
Oh gosh, that oh my gosh. I can't
Or,
even imagine. And without flashlights too.
yeah, because
Jeez.
security and no flash cameras or anything,
Oh my gosh.
They're
Yeah.
pros, and so they know how to adjust and do all that. And, yeah, they easily could have washed up down at the mouth of the Columbia River. The mill was on the Willamette, but it empties into the Columbia. So, uh, it was quite a thing, and those beings are part of that story and making
Right.
all of that happen.
That's pretty amazing. And it goes to show us that, there's a lot of benevolence there.
Mhm.
And I think I ascribe to the whole quantum mechanics. It's something that's very interesting to me. History as well. Obviously, I don't think that
Right,
you can really enjoy or want to work in any facet of the paranormal without having some sort of love or connection to history. That's just my opinion. But I do
right,
think that I do want to say it's pretty egotistical of people to think that we're the only life species in this universe or multiverse, right? There's so much out there that
Hmm.
we don't even know yet. But
Right.
thinking about cryptozoology, thinking about ufology, Bigfoot, the Fae, for example, I don't know. This is just my opinion. It's almost, I can't say it's a gut feeling. Maybe it partly is. I think there's just a nexus between it all. There has to be some sort of connection between different interdimensional beings and even uh, those in the afterlife. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I think about this a lot.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense. And um, the ones, the humans in the afterlife, the sense I get is a very different kind of place
Mhm.
than with the other kinds of beings, but we can go there. We can go to those other places.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that part of it is in those other places, those beings do have a body, and we don't at that point. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm thinking off the top of my head now.
Right. No, and this is like what I sometimes I'll be, sitting there at night and I'll think about this stuff too. And I don't think it's as hard as we think it is.
Mm-mm.
I think it's really the answer might be very easy, but are us, meaning us mortals, us living in our physical bodies, are we supposed to know everything at this point in time? Maybe we're just given glimpses of it. But maybe when
Right.
it's our turn to ascend or transition and go into the next life, maybe that's when we'll be granted with more information. I don't know. But I don't know if we're of if us mortals are supposed to know everything.
Well, I don't think that we're capable of fully comprehending everything.
That's true. Yeah, it's
Um,
true.
and that's not a design defect. That's just,
That's just it, yeah,
like the old
totally.
saying, we're only human.
Yeah,
Um, which
exactly.
is a pretty incredible piece of machinery, but um, it's not perfection.
Right.
And yeah, I like your points on those. What was I going to say?
I totally, like, cut you I not cut you off, but I mean, I hear I I got you
No,
off
you
your
didn't.
train
You
of
didn't.
thought.
You didn't at
Sorry.
all. I
Oh, man.
triggered something, but this is just the way the brain works for me.
Yeah.
But one of the things, and like with the UFO, I have seen one,
Yeah, me
so I
too, a
know they
few.
exist.
Yeah,
And it
me
wasn't
too.
a little pinpoint in the sky. It was huge and round and stories of colored lights, and it went down a hill not far from where a friend of mine and I were midnight one time. And we
Similar to
almost
my
went,
sightings.
yeah,
Very
and
similar.
yeah, and we almost went to find it because we thought we could. I
Yeah,
kinda
I
know
know.
how the roads would have worked. By the
God.
time we got back in my car, though, we decided, "Oh, we might find it." So we went the other way. We didn't go look. But it would make sense, I've thought too, just like the Fae. Are they us coming in from a parallel universe?
That's actually a very interesting point.
Mhm.
And then when you think of past, present, and future, and if it could all be infused in one,
According to
if you
Jane Roberts in the Seth books, they are.
that's something, and when we talk about if we talk about the Queen Mary today, I'll elaborate on that because I think the Queen Mary could, in terms of its spiritual phenomena, could very much showcase that.
Okay, well, maybe this is getting
No,
further
no, no,
from.
no, because I was just saying, I mean, I'm just saying that I
No,
think it could be very much like a past, present, future, and it's just all kind of blending in maybe.
yeah. Well, I've always loved talking to you about the Queen Mary too, and I'm interested in what you have to say about that. But
Yeah.
um, there is a connection, though, I think, with all of it, even if it's a little different.
Mhm.
Now, I don't necessarily think that Bigfoot and UFOs go together all the time or something else.
Right, yeah,
Uh,
me neither.
Um, I don't know that. Oh, some places just have a lot of everything. And I don't even necessarily know that you need a vortex or a portal. I think the beings just can come and go as they want. I mean,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know, we talk about that, you know, portals and vortices. We talk about how geology affects it, and maybe there is some truth to that, but yeah, maybe it really doesn't have to do with that.
mhm.
Who
I
knows, you
mean,
know?
yeah, and there are questions I have, but I don't have a lot of answers for.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, me too. I have more question obviously, right? More questions than answers. But
mhm.
it's like you start thinking about a topic and then five other questions or whatnot, you know, spawn from just that topic. It's crazy
Right.
how it works. It really
Yeah.
is.
Well, and this is great. I'm really enjoying the conversation because you're
Me
making me
too.
think, and
Yeah,
that's good because I
likewise.
haven't been doing enough of that lately. So,
I feel like I haven't either, really. Like some days more than others. But yeah, I can always feel at the end of the day when my brain is really engaged. And it's hard to put
right,
it into words, but you almost have that, how do I describe it? It's like a mushy feeling, almost like a numbness in the center of your head. It's hard to put in words, but yeah.
right. Hmm.
So
I know what you mean.
you got to
But
think, you really have to think outside the box in this, pretty much with life in general, but in this field, it's, you know, if you're going to stay within the four corners of the box and just stay with the current theories that we have and not think of others, well, I think you're doing yourself and the field a disservice, really.
right, and I think it's not just this field, but any field. Within reason. I mean, you have to do it from an educated perspective
Hmm.
so that you have a firm foundation on what is known or not known,
Yeah.
at least when we're dealing with history or with math or with,
Right. Yeah.
certain things that we actually can prove something about. But I would like to actually use this as a little transition then to hear about the Queen Mary and what you're talking about with that.
Yeah. So Queen Mary. I mean, I don't. Do you want me to give a little bit on? I mean, I'm sure everyone knows Queen Mary. I don't necessarily have to go on an overview with
Well, you were talking
the
about the
history or
past
anything.
and present and future all
Yeah. So
together, and
it's interesting with the Queen Mary. So I've been studying obviously both its history and its paranormal, its spiritual phenomena for what, close to 20 years now. And this isn't something that I thought right away. What how I am now and what my thoughts are now, what my beliefs are now are basically a culmination of all those years.
right,
And it's interesting. I was there for New Year's this last year. They had 2 New Year's celebrations. We did the pre-New Year's bash on Saturday the 30th, and so it was fantastic. And so this thought came after that. I don't know if New Year's had anything to do with it. It may have come maybe after that, I don't know. But it was a few days after, and I started thinking, you know, with the Queen Mary, speaking of history, has probably the most iconic history, the most iconic historical timeline of any merchant ship ever, really. Just different layers of history, tons of history there. And then you have the paranormal and the spiritual aspect of it. And there are all kinds of theories as to, you know, why the Queen Mary is so paranormally active. Is she I don't like to use the word haunted per se because I feel like it has a negative connotation. Is she
right,
haunted? My definition for a haunting is that the energies that are at a location have to have some sort of tie or connection to that location, historically speaking. That
okay,
would be a huge fat yes for the Queen Mary. So, with that definition, yes, the Queen Mary is haunted. Both residual intelligent energy, known really as one of the top 10 most haunted places in the world, right?
right,
But I think with the Queen Mary, I think at the core of, I'm going to say two things. At the core of the Queen Mary's paranormal activity, her spiritual phenomena have to do with two things. Number one, the ship itself, in my heartfelt opinion, I'm not talking about the people who run it. I'm talking just about the ship itself, I believe is very sentient. I believe the ship's alive. It can feel, she can think, she can remember, she can do all those things. She can communicate. Maybe not more telepathically. I mean, I've heard the ship speak.
okay,
Feminine voice, very matronly, very kind of older, almost like Her Majesty Queen Mary of Tech, maybe how she would have sounded. Very older, very matronly. I've heard her speak through my clairaudient senses, right?
Right.
Um, so we have the ship as one gigantic, huge, sentient being. Then you have her human energies, animal energies as well that are on board. And I think there's such a not a duality, that's not the right word, but there's such a interplay between those two. And they charge each other, they
Right.
attract each other. So that leads me into the second thing, magnetism. Not just simple definition of what magnetism is from a science perspective, but magnetism. The ship is magnetic. So she's going to draw in emotion. She's going to draw in thoughts and perspectives, not just from the living, but from her spiritual energies. And so when you add that to the thought that maybe she's one gigantic time capsule, you have past, you have present, and you have future, all kind of interweaving throughout the various decks. I mean, even New Year's, this is why I think people, and again, could it be power suggestion? Maybe a little bit, but I find it interesting that people have experiences like, for example, New Year's, celebrations like that, people will see and experience more, uh, paranormal activity that have to coincide with what's going on aboard the ship currently. So if you have a New Year's party going on and you're having sightings of New Year's or parties from years ago when the ship was still sailing, yeah, could that be a little bit of power suggestion? Sure, but it could also do with that the time capsule idea and the
Right. Those
past,
are the
present, and
memories
future.
that are awakening for
Right,
the event. Hmm.
right. And so you have that, you have magnetism, you have perhaps the past, present, future, and you have the ship as being one gigantic spirit, and you have her human energies, and it's like they're just charging each other. They're just it's like one she's like one giant transmitter and receiver of spiritual energy. And what's interesting too, my friend Tony Ashland used to be a tour guide on board. He actually moved to New Mexico, and he's an amateur crystal radio operator. And the Queen Mary has all the components for that. You have the grounding plane, right, and the
Right.
bridge and the wheelhouse. I mean, you have the copper wiring, and you have the
Yep.
quartz crystal. So is it maybe is it just the components in the ship that might help her, or is it maybe there? I think with the Queen Mary, yeah, there's certain elements that help to make the ship that can help, attract some of her energy. But I think there's just something very, um, it's elusive. I think we're not supposed to know, but there's something very, very special about the Queen Mary. But I think when I think about it, I think the magnetism and the time capsule idea and her being sentient, I feel like I'm getting warmer, if that makes sense.
Right.
And
Well,
this is
and
not
this
something I thought of right away when I first started investigating. This is after years.
years of putting it together.
Right. So,
Yeah. And I've never known you to be off in some kind of weird fantasy world.
well,
I,
yeah,
I mean,
try not to be anyways.
no, you're a well-grounded person, and
Yeah, I am. I am. So
in
are
all the
you.
right ways. Um,
I'd be
and that
curious to see
makes
what you think about that though, because,
well.
you know,
I'm thinking it's interesting. Now, any of the ships would have the copper and the crystal
mhm.
and the grounding.
Right, the
Um,
iron, the manganese bronze propellers, even the wood
yeah, all of the
from all
crystal
over. Right.
radio type stuff any
Mhm.
ship would have.
Right.
Um, and people talk about ships, people who have been on a ship or a boat a great deal of time form an attachment a lot of times,
Absolutely.
sometimes not. Um, so is there something with that?
Could be.
Um, also, I'm wondering, okay, if the ship is picking up all of this energy and basically consuming it in a sense, which is something that there are many different entities that do. I mean, you can get rid of negativity in a house just by changing the energy that you bring into the house.
That's very exactly. Exactly.
And the entity that's in that house will either change or go away,
Right.
um, because it's getting fed love and light instead of anger and violence. Um,
That got
so
me on
over,
another thought, but go ahead. I'm gonna hold that thought because I have something else to say, but go ahead and
yeah,
continue.
and so over time now, because the ship has been a museum and or not so much a museum, but a hotel for quite a long time now.
Mhm.
Other than just all of the different things she has done. Do you notice a change? Not just because it's New Year's and it's a party, so of course that part of the environment comes through more.
Yeah, that
But
was just an
just
example. Right.
right. But are you noticing just day to day a change in the what she says? Is she speaking less formally? Is the energy changing a little bit, or is it feeling a little bit less um, Cotier and Cartier and a little more jeans? Uh,
That's interesting. I before I answer that, another thought too I wanted to bring in is that since the ship's inception, so from the very day that they decided, okay, we need to build Job 534, that was her assigned number before she was named by Queen Mary of Tech. The world was just pro Job 534. This ship needed to be finished. So a lot of love, a lot of light, and a lot of TLC was given to the ship from day one. And it's as if she was meant to survive and has throughout
okay.
her history. She's been that's her I guess destiny. That's her legacy is to continue doing what she does. Um, bridging people together, offering that love and that light and that success and all of that.
Mm.
So I think that could play into it as well. Oh my god, I mean, now when I hear her voice, sometimes telepathically, it's usually it's always feminine, and it sounds like it would come from like an older type of lady.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if I can answer. I mean, because when I hear her, it's like her. It's not the type of voice doesn't change, but I'm noticing that as and this didn't start. I'm getting all over the place because there's like 50 thoughts going in my head, but
That's great.
I'm able to channel her more where like when I first started investigating the Queen Mary, it was more yes, her human spirits. I'm noticing for me personally, I'm able to channel her more, and I will say that she's in charge. She really is in charge. I mean, yes, you have the management, you have the people that work on board, but there's something about the Queen Mary that she will get what she wants. She's willing to try certain things,
Huh.
but it's one of those things where she really is in charge. Um, I'm not really answering your question really because I'm going off on tangents, but
No, but you're working with that same question. So
I'm trying to
um,
work. Yeah, I mean, I mean, when I hear her and I hear her telepathically, I know it's her talking to me as opposed to just maybe one of her female energies. And it's easier for me to channel her. And there was an interesting story. I was on board in February. My friend Tom Varney builds model ships, and so these are like 8-foot models, and he's from Alaska, and he had his models sent over. They're now on board the Queen Mary in the engine room lobby. So if those are on board, go down to the engine room lobby. You'll see them there. He has a Queen Elizabeth model and a Queen Mary model, and so a group of friends and I, we're all like Queen Mary people. We get together on board the ship throughout the year. We all went and we had like he gave a presentation for the Steamship Historical Society of America and whatnot. So we all got together. And what's interesting is it was Saturday, and that next night we had that huge storm that came down to Southern California. And I ended up having to stay another night just because it was just ridiculous to drive home. And it was interesting because in all the times that I've stayed aboard, I've never seen the harbor the waves just moving so quickly and the water moving so quickly. I've never seen the water break against the rocks as much as it was doing. And I filmed this. It's on my Facebook page. You might have to scroll down, obviously, a few posts, but I filmed this and I talked about it. And it gave the idea. I was standing in my room, so I was starboard on M deck, so I was facing the harbor, and I was filming it, and I was watching the water, and I was listening to the water. I was listening to the rain, and just staring at the water moving. And it gave the idea that the ship was still sailing. I stood there and I felt as though the ship was sailing just because the elements were right. And
Right.
it was, I remember standing there saying, this is as close as it's going to be to experience what it would have been like to be on board as the ship was actually sailing. I mean, the way the water was moving, it really gave that effect.
Well, I
And
would think it
so,
would rock the ship and stuff because the ship's not sitting on the ground, I don't
no,
think.
it's ebbing and
Floating.
flowing. I didn't really feel it so much, but yeah, it does ebb and flow, of course. A lot of people think that it's touching. No, no, it's ebbing and
Mhm.
flowing in the water. But it was just interesting, and I'm thinking maybe that could have brought on and influenced some paranormal activity as well. I had to leave the following morning and I ended up getting sick because I went up there with the cold and then it, kind of I got a cough and whatnot. But
Mhm.
it was just really, really interesting to experience that. It was really
Wow.
awesome. It was so cool.
That sounds fascinating. It really does.
Yeah. I would love for you to come down because I really think that you would tap into the Queen Mary. Not everyone can.
Yeah.
Not everyone
I would
can.
I would
You
love to
would.
come back down. I was down there once several years ago, one night,
Yeah.
on my way to visit my sister on the other side of LA.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I would like very much to do that again and spend a couple of nights. And
I think you would tap into who she is. I really
mhm.
do. And it's
Well, I'd like you to
interesting.
be there to guide me.
I would love to be there with you, but I do you need a guide? I mean, well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I mean, I really think that you would be one of the ones that will be like, "Yep, I get it.
Yeah, uh,
I do.
you may be right.
I
Um,
do. I really do." It's
yeah,
just and some people are like might be thinking, "Oh my gosh, Nicole, she's obsessed with the Queen Mary." Well, but there are many people like me that can feel something. There's something very alive and very special about the Queen Mary. I can't necessarily put my finger on it. I can try to describe it, but there's something very wise, very beautiful, and very spiritual about the Queen Mary. And this is what gets me upset when people um, treat her just like any other haunted location venue, and
well,
this
it
is
makes me upset when they treat any venue badly,
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
because you're disrespecting the entities there, the history of the place, everything.
Right. Right.
And
Absolutely.
and what you're saying about the ship too, it makes sense in another sense. I'm on boards and stuff for different history organizations,
Oh, good for
and
you.
I can't keep out of trouble if no matter how hard I try.
Mhm.
Um, it's part of my charm.
I love it.
S- some people disagree with that, but anyway, um, um, but when we're having an event at a house, it's a party. When we're bringing music and laughter into a house, these houses were built for it,
Mhm.
and they truly come alive, and the house feels different.
Right.
It
I hear
makes a
you on
big
that.
difference. Hmm.
Yes. Totally.
And
Yep.
I I love it. It's a whole different feel, and so going just from the ship, houses often and buildings often have a personality as well.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
And
absolutely.
how does that work? And how much of it is simply the energy from the humans that
Right.
have has embedded into the materials of the ship or the house that give it that? I
Mhm.
mean, it's so difficult to get the mind around the possibility that an inanimate object could be sentient.
It is really. It really
Um,
is.
and is that even possible? But as an energy store and release or whatever, that could do it. But I know sometimes it feels more personal than that.
Yeah, it really does, and, it's even other locations I go to, you can kind of feel some are more sentient for maybe various reasons than others, but for me, maybe it's stronger for me because I do have some sort of soul-like connection or past life connection. I've been told this many times. For
Mhm.
example, with the Queen Mary. I'm not the only one though. There are others. We're talking former crew I've talked to,
Right,
former passengers, war brides, even one of my very good war bride friends, June Allen. She's in her 90s now. She was among the first wave of war brides to sail on the Queen Mary after World War II. And she said this, she said, the Queen Mary chooses you. She
right.
chooses those that can understand and feel and tap into her soul. So I'm not the only one saying this. There's
No.
other people. I mean, even Captain John Treasure Jones, who brought the ship into Long Beach on December 9th, 1967, he said, the Queen Mary is as closest to a human being of any ship I have ever commanded. So there's something
Wow.
there. What it is, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm supposed to know, but and that's what keeps me going back. I mean, you can see
Yeah.
behind me, I have there's a picture over there of the Queen Mary and one on my bookshelf. I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
so
Well, and
it's
how many books have you written about her?
a 3, maybe doing a 4th, we'll see.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
hi, Rita. Nice to see you. Oh, I love her cat. Oh my gosh, it looks like my Simba. Oh,
yeah.
um, oh, thanks, Mom. Likewise. My mom's
Uh,
watching.
yeah. Your mom's wonderful, and Rita's a
Mm,
sweetheart.
yes,
Um,
absolutely.
but oh, it's fascinating. And that's part of what I like about the paranormal
I do
or the
too.
metaphysical. It's the personal connection.
Mhm.
I get bored with meters and stuff, and I'm always appreciative when they let me see them, or a chair's held out for me, or you watch
Yeah,
a door opening or closing,
I
or
agree.
something. And it's a great deal of effort on their part, but I I'm not going to have that happen. I know it happens. I'm going to see what kind of a connection and what kind of a story I can get from who's there.
Right, and
And
that's what you need to do. Yeah, I mean, EMF meters, environmental monitoring in general, what's a spike in EMF really going to tell you in the grand scheme of things, right? There has to be
yeah,
some sort of context. There has to be some sort of connection to something else, but
mhm,
it's and I don't advertise myself as a psychic medium, but I do that. I am more of a intuitive type of investigator. That's just how
mhm,
I work. And
right.
having these experiences with these energies, I don't take it lightly. I think it's a huge honor because I
I
know,
do
like you
too.
said, it takes energy for them too to
Yes,
make that connection, and it's
exactly.
not something I take lightly. I really I thank them for that
Yeah,
and for those experiences. It's not something that I exploit. It's not they're not here for my amusement. They're not here for my
mm,
pleasure. But that connection, it comes back to connection. It comes back to that like yeah, connection is the only word I can think of right now. So
yeah. And I agree with you. And they're very kind to me
mhm.
always so far. And if I'm staying in the room where the haunted activity happens or something, they might show me something or sit on the side of my bed and you can feel it go down, or
Yeah.
watch the door unlock or open or something. And that's lovely, but they let me sleep.
Yes. Same
And,
here. Yeah.
and I really appreciate that. They don't bother me in my sleep. Um, and um, just a little something sometimes to physically show that, yeah, I'm here.
Right.
You're not crazy. Mm,
Likewise. And yeah, I think, you're so genuine and what you put out, you get back.
yeah, I
Allie and
think
I
so.
talk about that. Yeah, Allie is a good friend of mine. And when we did a lot of our tours, we would tell the guests that, you're here, what you put out, you will get back. And it's so true, that golden rule that, be kind.
Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And oh, life's just better that way anyway.
It is, there's just we need more kindness in this world, right?
We
It's
do.
just it's and the same goes with working with, spiritual energies, be kind.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you can't set boundaries and
No,
expect them to honor them,
exactly. Oh yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And I find so often, um, your mom is fabulous.
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you, mom. William
But
has the respect too. This is one of the reasons why I admire you in this field because you're not out to exploit. You're not out, to you're kind and respectful. I admire that. So,
thank you.
mhm.
I appreciate it. And I try to let them know that when I'm teaching, and I don't always remember to say something, but that we're here to learn how to communicate with you and talk to you. And excuse us, we don't mean to be rude, but I'm helping people, myself included, just to be able to open and do more. So, because I teach for beginning, especially some filtering and some shielding and different things, and having people practice.
Fantastic. And that's what your class will be, right? At the Oregon Ghost Conference?
Well, it's
Or it's
going to
more
be
on beyond history, you said that, yeah.
right, and some of the beings. Now, we'll touch base on some of those protection type things. I hate that word.
I
But
know what you mean.
um, but we'll touch base on some of that because some of those things. I mean, a filter, especially for empaths or something,
Mhm.
are wonderful tools just to
Yes.
tone down the environment around you so people can function. Get somebody strongly empathic at Costco and can be paralyzing. Well,
Oh, it can, I know, and it's that differentiating between, okay, what's my energy versus what I'm sensing from someone else. I'm getting better at that, but still, sometimes, you call
and
I call them like psychic vampires, you can just feel the energy just draining out of you.
yeah, and they don't necessarily even mean it. But what
Right.
you can do with, well, we'll talk, Eric, because it's one that you can learn. And students of mine who have really worked with it, it's not something overnight,
Right.
um,
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
had a lot of success. But you can get to a point where you can just ratchet it down so you only let in as little as you need to be appropriate in the environment you're around. I mean, you have to have some awareness of other people.
Of course.
Um,
Yeah.
um, at least if you're going to function in um, a reasonable way.
Right,
So
yeah.
um, there are ways you can do it. And then other times, I don't, the living, and I know it's so cliche, but if I'm out in the middle of the night someplace and it's dark and I'm by myself and I can't see people, well, I can't see houses and stuff with people and people I know that aren't up to no good. Um, I get nervous about
Mhm.
what could be there, but the paranormal doesn't make me nervous or afraid. And one time I had permission to be out at a historic pioneer cemetery at night. I had the
Mhm.
keys. Um, then I was by myself, and you walk about a half mile out in the woods down part of the Oregon Trail, actually. Um, and there are houses, but they're several acres away and you can't see them.
Mhm.
And on the way back in the cemetery, I saw the usual shadowy figures and stuff that are also there during the daylight, and it was fine. And on the way back, I really was feeling uncomfortable, and it wasn't super late because I wanted to be in and out before the party started or the drug shoot up started or whatever else was going to
Oh my gosh, yeah, no thank
possibly
you.
go on. I you never know in the woods or parks or something at night. Um, and I really started getting nervous with it. So I put up a glass shield so
Mm.
I could stop and get my bearings. Something even grabbed my pant leg.
Oh,
And
wow.
um, I thought maybe it was a stick, and I stopped a couple steps later, and there wasn't anything at all that could have grabbed it. So no, um, it was someone.
Mhm.
And I then saw hundreds, thousands of Native Americans that wanted to
Oh
talk.
my gosh, wow.
And they had a story to tell. They wanted me to hear it. They wanted me to keep walking. They were only on one side of this road, and the other side was more settlers, wagon train people. And they all wanted to talk at once. So I used that filter as a way and talked to them and said, look, I can't understand you all at once.
Mhm.
And so I used the filter to get two or three at a time and got the stories that they wanted told and kept walking as they wanted me to. And it worked out really great. So, I mean, even just for something that simple, um, these are tools that can be helpful um, to
Yeah,
understand what's
fantastic.
going on.
That's a
So,
huge component when you're channeling energies and
mhm.
communicating with them. I'm wondering, do you know if it I would love to take it. Is there gonna be like a virtual option or is there just
No,
No,
because we're
he's
going
not
to a couple
yeah,
different sites, but
that's kinda hard.
I can teach this virtually. So
Okay.
we'll set up a time and we'll do it.
Yeah, I would love that just
Yeah,
because, I think that and we all like you said, we all learn from each other, and I think it's needed, and
yeah,
some people were like, "Well, I don't work psychically, I don't channel," but sometimes I think people will do it without really knowing they're doing it, but yet, you need those boundaries and you need to be safe about it, so
right.
that'd be great.
And and it works, like I say, with the living. Now, these these shields aren't going to stop a knife or a bullet. I mean,
Of course not.
obviously, but they work with the energy that comes from people
Mhm.
and the spiritual energies out there, and they have a lot of reality to them.
Oh,
People have
sure.
learned to use some students I've had to keep the the disrespectful ones out of their bedrooms at night
Mhm.
so they could sleep when they're visiting grandma's house.
Uh,
Um,
I
you
know
know,
about it. Yeah, that's usually when I set up the boundaries. If I'm in a play, like, for example, the Queen Mary, I'll say, "Okay, you know what? You guys know I'm going to sleep now. Leave me alone." And they do. They do.
yeah. Oh,
So,
and I've had friends that just put the bubble up around their house with
yeah.
the filled or shield in it, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, it
after
took me
I'm not,
forever to, like, be able when I first started to put up that shield. Now I'm better at doing it
mhm.
quicker, but it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
and that's just part of it. And a lot of times we need to um, remember
Mhm.
and grounding and centering, stopping to do that again
Yeah,
periodically makes a
exactly.
difference.
Exactly. Before, during, after, absolutely. Just in life too. Just
Yeah,
in everyday life, it helps.
it
And I'm
really
s
helps when somebody's
Yeah.
being a jerk in traffic.
Oh,
It,
yeah, sometimes you can just walk I can like, Costco, for example, or Target, walk in and you can just someone there is I had an experience once. I was in the this was when was this? Prior to COVID. I think it was 2019, I think. 2018, maybe. I
Mhm.
was in the ER. And all of a sudden I said, here I was in the little room. So I obviously was by myself back there. And I said, someone just came in here pissed off, upset. And I felt it was someone deceased. I had no way of knowing. Well, I later found out that there was a massive accident on the 805. This young man, teenager, I think 18, 19, was driving his very expensive car, speeding over 100 miles per hour, going the wrong way on 805, hit some
Jeez.
cars. A mother and daughter passed away. Their car caught, engulfed in flames. They passed
Mhm.
away. He died, of course. This was
Yeah.
a big news story at the time. Well, they brought him into that same hospital, deceased, of course. And I had no way of knowing this. But after the fact, I read about it. I'm like, oh my God, he must have been the individual. Because I got like a young male came in here. And it's so sad because he died in such a tragic way. He was wrong, of course,
Yeah.
but it was heartbreaking. And
Right.
here I was, a patient in the ER, and it's like I couldn't do anything about it. I just well wishes. That's all I kept saying. But
Right.
yeah, insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Was he mad because he died, or was he mad at the people that got in his way, or was he mad because he broke his car, or
He, from the story, if I remember it correctly, he had some mental health issues, and he was a gamer, if I remember correctly, and he had lost a lot of money from his YouTube channel or whatnot. So I don't know
okay.
if this was a suicide mission or whatnot, but he just lost it and just went driving around, went um, south on the northbound lanes of 805, 120 miles an hour or something like that. And I mean, I forget his name, but a woman and her daughter ended up dying. I don't know if another individual died, but he died as well. And when I take that 805, there's still marks on the freeway from the woman and daughter's van that caught fire. There's still like
Wow.
the leftover dark, um,
Scorch marks or
yeah,
something.
exactly. I couldn't think of the word, but yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just it's and I had no way of knowing, but and then I later on when I heard the news about that, I read that they had brought him into Scripps Memorial Hospital, of course deceased, and the timing of it was right. I was like, "Well, I was
Right.
in there right at the time they must have brought him in."
And they would have taken him into the ER.
They would have, yeah, I think so, or
Um,
somewhere through there. That's what
unless, uh, well, if he was obviously deceased, they would have taken him to wherever their morgue or whatever. But
right.
if they were going to try to do anything medically, they would have had him in the ER, I would think,
Yeah, I
or
don't
intense
remember if he was.
emergency care or whatever they call it these days.
Yeah, I think he was deceased there at the scene, but they brought him to the location. So,
Okay.
and it was just like here I was in my little, the little room, and all of a
Hmm.
sudden it was like an F5 tornado coming through. Whoa. Like this, young man, maybe 18 to 21, pissed off. I felt so bad.
Yeah, that's very
Very,
sad.
very sad. Yeah, I forget his name, but yeah, I mean it was a pretty big news story here when it occurred. I think it was 2018 or 19, around
Okay.
there. It was prior to COVID. I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, it would have been prior to COVID.
yeah,
So,
a little
yeah,
bit
it's just
anyway.
crazy.
It is. Well, there's so many people down in that part of the world. It's amazing we don't have a little more of that kind of thing. I mean, it's not like I know San Diego isn't as bad in as a lot of places, but just basically from LA South.
Oh, yeah, it's insane here.
Yeah,
It's, Dale Katzmarek from the Ghost Research Society is coming out next month with Chuck, also a member of the Ghost Research. I'm the California coordinator for the team. He's coming out next month, and I can't I can't do LA because I have a commitment, but they're coming. We're gonna do San Diego for a couple of days and then the Queen Mary, but he's gonna be spending a day in LA. Hopefully we'll get to all the locations he wants to see, but it's just so crazy there. I mean, and San Diego's becoming like LA too with our traffic and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah. And I've driven through LA. It's not fun, but I tell you, it's easier than driving through downtown London at 5 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, see, I've not done that, so I can't say. Oh my gosh.
Fortunately, I had a, a person who knew where we were going that could direct me um, and keep me from killing us.
Oh my god. I've
But
never been to London. I wanna go so bad.
I miss it. Although I haven't spent as much time there as I did in the 80s.
Mm.
Um, I spent 3 months living in England in
Oh,
the
that's
80s.
right. Yeah.
And I was in LA or in London quite a bit.
And did you wanna stay?
Oh,
Would you
yeah.
move there? Would you move back?
Oh, if I could have stayed and made a living and all that stuff. But I was in love and all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
that's what part of it was about. But if if I had the income, I would be at least part-time in the British Isles.
Oh,
And
totally. Yeah.
I'm not as sure that it would be as much England now as it might be Scotland.
Scotland, that's I mean, that speaking of the Queen Mary, there's
It's also become
Scottish roots.
it's also become a more progressive country than England has become. England's getting much more conservative.
Mhm.
Racism is expanding. I
Oh,
feel comfortable there. I love the country. I love the people and the ancient history and sites, and I've had lots of past lives there. Um, so I'm not putting it down, but Scotland might be just a nicer overall feel,
right, yeah. I could see that. I'd love to go there.
and Ireland as well.
Yes. So beautiful out there.
It is, and I've got friends that live in Ireland too.
Well,
So
that's good. You can just go and visit, which
yeah,
is nice. Yeah, I haven't been out there, sadly, but one of these days I'd like to do.
it, it's all gotten expensive, and
Oh, I can imagine.
I I need to get. I've got a few ideas how to get out there and paid, but none of them have worked quite yet, and my travel coffers haven't found a way to rejuvenate.
It will happen. Manifest it. Manifest it.
Very good, thank
Yep.
you,
Just
because
manifest
I
it.
need
It will
it.
happen. Yes, I would love to. I
It's
mean, London, France, Scotland, and Ireland. Oh my gosh, yes.
well, and I
Manifest.
love Turkey. Um,
Oh yes, I've heard from people that really like it out there.
Turkey's a fabulous country. Um, I'm not so crazy about their president. None of my friends are crazy about their president.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also got a secular constitution, although the president's trying to change that.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, talk about the cradle of civilization.
Oh, I know.
And
The history.
I have been close to these truly ancient, I mean, human habitation 9,000 BC type places. Not 9,000 years ago, 9,000 BC.
BC. That's the extra layers of history with that are just I mean, it
Yeah,
just throws us out of the water, really. That's just super impressive.
it is. And I have been to Troy and some of the Bronze Age sites and stuff like
Oh,
that. But
wow.
um, there's just so much there. It gets hot. I wouldn't want to live there most of the year because it gets really hot. But
It's more of
um,
like an arid type of climate out there, right? I would think kind of like,
not necessarily.
oh,
It's
really?
just
I was thinking it
hot.
was like more like Mesopotamia, like Egypt, like.
No, it's not a
Mm,
big desert climate like that.
mm.
It's Mediterranean, which gets hot. Not tons of rain, but They have snow-capped mountains in the east.
Oh, okay. A
Now,
lot
I
I
haven't
know,
been that
right?
far east yet. It's a huge country. It's not like we're talking European countries.
Mhm.
It's it's huge. I don't know how big it is from side to side or up or down, but it's
How long does it take to get out there from, like, if you were to let I guess, fly out from, like, LAX or something? Over 24 hours, like 17 hours, somewhere around there?
I've always flown to Europe and then changed planes to get down.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't had a direct flight from here. No, we have direct flights. I probably could have gotten one out of Seaside or out of Seattle.
Yeah,
I'm not
SeaTac.
sure. Yeah, but just the way things have worked. Um, and San Francisco would certainly, I would think. I don't know
San
why I haven't
Francisco
flown direct
probably
out of
would.
one of those places
Yeah, maybe
because I
just
like
less
direct.
flights. Yeah, I prefer direct as well. I hate having to get off the plane, deplane, and then have to run to your next gate to take another plane. And I've done
Yeah.
it before. It's just, oh, it's so nerve-wracking.
Oh,
And I've flown into SeaTac in Portland, of course. I prefer Portland over SeaTac.
oh, I do too.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
we have a
yeah.
lot of we have a lot of transatlantic flights now, especially during
Mhm.
the travel season, but even year round, we have some. But I've also, I'm thinking about it. I've always flown first into Izmir
Oh,
and not
okay.
Istanbul because I have friends there.
Oh, that
And
makes
in fact, my
sense.
second
Yeah.
trip over there, I didn't even go to Istanbul. Yeah, I just stayed in the Izmir area because that's where I was there for their wedding.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
I spent a week down there. And so I haven't, and when I've flown from Istanbul, I've been going to other places in Europe. And so I haven't had a direct, and you don't have Izmir's it's the third largest city in Turkey. It's a big city, but um, it's doubtful that we have any direct flights from the West Coast anyway.
Yeah, maybe that's
And I
more of
don't
like
think we
a
do.
New
I don't
York
think this,
JFK
yeah, and even from there, wound up having to, I've wound up having to change.
planes.
Yeah, and either, oh God, stay out of Frankfurt if you can, and Newark. Those airports suck.
Oh, yeah. I've LaGuardia and JFK. JFK can be, though. It depends. I mean, I don't know. I've done both. LaGuardia is just, I mean, smaller and obviously closer to the city, but yeah,
Mhm.
JFK is more, I think, more flights.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've just, my last trip, well, I was on United and they ripped me off and
oh
didn't give me
man.
what I pay for. I hate United.
Why
Um,
wouldn't they do that? That's crazy. If you paid for it, oh my
well, the
gosh.
flight didn't have that class. I had paid for Coach Plus, but that
Uh,
also meant, and so my ticket didn't say it, which also meant I got stuck in longer lines.
oh my gosh, they should have credited you though,
And when
my god.
when I got to Newark, nobody even knew where my luggage was.
Oh
And
no, come
it took 3
on.
days for it to get to home, and it took
Oh my
3 days to meet
gosh.
up with me in Turkey.
Lovely,
Mhm.
lovely. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So, anyway, I digress.
God.
This isn't what I meant to be talking about. How can people get a hold of your books and such?
Oh, okay. So yeah, so they're all pretty much Amazon online retailers, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, online retailers. The Queen Mary ones are also sold on board the ship if you go there. And then let's see, our new Women on the Fringe. We're doing, and so, oh, and my books too. They're not just print; they're ebook. I The Afterlife Chronicles is also now on audiobook too through
Okay.
Amazon, through I think it's ACX, but you can go through Amazon and get an audiobook. So, but Women on the Fringe, Amazon, and then as well as other online retailers, and so
Okay.
ebook as well. I don't know. I think we're going to come out with an audiobook soon for it. And I know not everyone likes to shop on Amazon, but Barnes and Noble, I'll target those. We'll have it. That's pretty much it. And then some of the local stores in San Diego. San Diego's Most Haunted, my book there is sold in like I think in the store, a couple stores in Old Town, um, Barnes and Noble here locally, and
Hmm.
then Spirits of Rancho Buena Vista Adobe. I think cost some of them are in like Costco. I don't know about Barnes and Noble. I think it might be in more in like the northern county locations, but pretty much, like I said, online retailers will have all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
I put
um,
that out there so people can go and find, because
cool.
you do have quite a few out, and a lot of them I know are through publishing houses. They're not just self-published.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so San Diego's Most Haunted, and then Spirits of Rancho Buena Vista Adobe. So San Diego's Most Haunted was Schiffer. Spirits of Rancho Buena Vista Adobe's Haunted America. Women on the Fringe. We technically self-published it, but it's under Marie and Denise's imprint. So that's Where's Lucy Productions. I in 2022 started my own imprint, which is Kaylee Max Books, and so the Afterlife Chronicles is actually, I self published it through my imprint. I'm probably in the future going to be doing more self publishing. I mean, I can't say that I'm not going to ever traditionally publish again, but there's just a lot of benefits to it. There
Yeah,
really is.
if
So,
unless you can get a publisher who actually markets and put your books out in a distribution that will allow bookstores to buy them and stock them.
and what I did too, that's true. And even some publishing companies don't do a lot of, I mean, they'll market, but maybe not as much as maybe they used to. But what I did
Right.
is I published through KDP and Ingram as well, just to get the best of both worlds. And so far, it seems to be doing okay. So
Yeah, Ingram's is where people. I need to talk to you more about how to do
yes, yes.
Ingram's.
Yeah, Ingram actually wasn't that bad. It's a little different than KDP, but the process is pretty similar. And then draft to digital too is another option. We're doing draft to digital with Women on the Fringe, and you can
Okay.
get into like Kobo and Apple Books and some EPUB, like libraries and universities and things of that nature with that. So yeah, but we'll definitely talk for sure.
Okay. Excellent. Thank
It's a
you.
learning curve. I'm still learning all of what you can do with self-publishing. Even like the ads, like Amazon ads and stuff. That there's so much to learn with that.
Oh, I didn't think about ads
Yeah,
through
and I mean,
Amazon.
there's courses and stuff you can take. Some of the courses are just like outrageous, but I know that some offer like payment plans where you can do like, 75. I don't know if it's 10 payments of whatnot, but you can break it up. But yeah, I was thinking of maybe sometime doing a really good reputable course on Amazon ads, because I really do think that, just to have the knowledge in the belt, so
Mm.
yeah.
Then you can start teaching it for little
Uh,
less.
oh my gosh, I feel like it's so complicated, but yet it probably isn't. It's just
Uh-huh.
it's woo, it's like mind blowing.
I understand.
Oh my gosh, so much to know, but little by little.
Yes. Do you have anything last that you want to say to anybody or out
Let's
there?
see. Not really about myself. I'm on social media, website, Nicole. I changed my website. Nicole, it's NicoleDStrickland.com, NicoleDStrickland.com. I need to update the site, so bear with me. Just, on social media, I would say just keep plugging away if you're in this field, blaze your trail, follow your heart, let it guide you, and just, keep doing the work that you're doing. So, and I'm
Excellent.
gonna get up to see you guys. I'm hoping next year I can do the Oregon Ghost Conference. I really am hoping, because I really do miss seeing a lot of you.
Good. I would like
It's
that.
been a while.
And Pete Orbea does a fabulous job at the Port Gamble Coast Conference too.
Yes,
It's a
I've
very different feel.
It is. I was there in 2017. Fantastic. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. But yeah,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, Port Gamble. What an idyllic, quaint town.
it
Just
is.
beautiful. So
It is. I love it up there.
yeah,
But
it really is beautiful. I could see myself living up in the Pacific Northwest. I really think it's beautiful. And the energy is different than down here. It's a really, for me, an attractive energy. Can't put my finger
exactly.
on it. I can't put my finger on it what it is, but it's like, yeah, yeah, I get this. I
Hmm.
can vibe
And
with this.
in certain parts of it, other parts of it, it's like, no, get me out of here. I mean, it's beautiful,
Yeah.
but um, well, we have areas that we have scary people too.
Yeah, yeah, we do here too.
Mhm.
Yep, I get it. So, but it was
So,
awesome talking with you today. Thank
you
you
too,
so much for
Nicole.
having me on. It's nice to catch up.
It is. Thank you. And to all of you out there that have been watching, thank you all so very much. I really appreciate it. And I will have the links out probably later today. And
Okay,
feel free to share them yourself, Nicole, or anybody
sure.
else out there. Um, we love to have people see it. And then you'll be able to get to my YouTube channel too and
Awesome.
um, im- subscribe.
I'll promote it. I'll
Love to
promote
get
it
some
all.
subscriptors, more subscribers.
Subscribers.
Yeah, it's a
Yep.
good thing we're ending now because my mouth has quit
Oh,
working.
I know, me too. I get like that all the time. Like, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
good. That makes me feel better.
No, you're not alone there. Oh my
Excellent.
gosh.
Well, have a good afternoon,
You
everybody, and we'll talk to you all very soon. Bye bye.
bye.